Right on. Susan from Washington. Bernice from Minnesota. Oh my goodness, all around the world. Welcome, everybody. Alrighty. Is anybody brand new to Train Through Trust method or following Doug? Let us know if you're brand new in the comments. We'd love to know. Oh, right on, Loretta. Welcome. So if you guys have any questions, there is, if you look on the bottom, welcome Cheryl. Oh, and Shannon, awesome. First Zoom meeting. Welcome, Catherine. I hope it wasn't too difficult. Susan, awesome. So happy to have you guys on here. So there is a Q&A section. Feel free to get to post in the chat and you guys can chat in there. But if you have a question that you want Doug to answer, you're going to use the Q&A portion where you'll post your question there. And we really do want to answer your questions. As you go along there, the only stupid question is the one that you don't ask. So, Linda, did you mean to raise your hand? Oh, no, I see it went down there. Oh, no, it didn't. If you have a question, Linda, go ahead and post it in the chat for now or in the Q&A. It'll just be one more minute. Doug's just setting up here.
Hello, everyone. How you guys doing? We are super excited for this live today, so we're going to get started here right away. Over the next couple hours, I really want to share some concepts and steps and lessons that I've learned, and the most important of those steps are the ones that I've learned after 20 years of training. So and it's really changed my life and blessed me, and I hope that it's a blessing for you too. So like Kaylee said, we have three different students working horses at different levels, but um, I always like to start at the very beginning, so if you know the very first step you need to do with every horse, regardless of his experience or, anything he's had done to him, then you know how to build from that very beginning step. You can build lessons on top of lessons and get yourself to a spot where you start to realize how they think, and you always know your next step. So there's multiple people who are going to be on here and listening to this. So I'm going to try to talk to everybody from, an experienced performance horse trainer, competitor, clinician, all the way down to an 8-year-old horse lover and everyone in between. So, you know, the very first thing I'll just start out by saying, I grew up as an 8-year-old horse lover. That's why I've got experience with everything in between, because I learned how to train horses through restraint, and we had a ranch to work on. So because we had a job to do with a horse, I find we could get away with a lot of things. You don't have to be that good of a trainer if you got a horse conserving energy and you got a job for him to do. They kind of fill in the blanks for you. But I think I just need to spotlight here.
Do you want to make me the host and I can promote Marina?
Absolutely. Um, okay. I got to remove the spotlight first, I think. Huh. Not sure. Let me see.
Or
So,
you can just go into attendees and search Marina and then promote her yourself if it's easier.
yeah, I think I can do that.
Welcome, Douglas. He's trying to figure out what method might be the best fit for him and his horses. Well, if you have any questions, be sure to let us know because this really is, we want you guys, we know how many different pieces of information there is out there, and we want to be able to answer your questions to know if it is the right fit for you and your horses.
There we
Right
go.
on.
I'm going to just try to find Jim as well. He may not be in here yet.
Yeah, let's go ahead and go with Marina.
Hello, Marina.
Good morning.
While you're getting ready, I'm just going to look for Betsy here. Yeah, she might not be on here yet. So before Marina gets started, thank you for participating today, Marina. I see you've got a flashy little project for us to work with. I'm just going to run a short video on send off food because that's going to be our first lesson. As I talked to earlier, guys, about about the very first steps that we want to do with the horse. And for me, it's those steps have been very important because, like I said, I grew up on a ranch training horses, and I'd trained for 20 years before we moved to Canada and started teaching people. And I was blessed enough to fall in love with that journey. And I was really passionate about trying to, build a program that would give people success with horses because, you know, I found that everyone, had a lot of the same problems that, I had struggling growing up as a kid. But, and I was learning from all the industry leaders, but I didn't really have the answers for a lot of things that was going wrong. And those are those things I'll talk about that I learned later. So this is basically our very first step that we're going to do, and it'll help you understand why we start here. So send off food is a lesson that we start with, and it's because we are trying to develop a feel so that we can teach that horse to follow a feel backwards first, make them sensitive going back, and then forward. And so, the 7 steps I talk about are our communication steps. So you'll see the prep is the beginning, what's going on here, and then the pressure is the slow build of energy, and the timed release is when the horse responds to that energy. And then when we allow them to come back in, we give them a clear signal that they can come back in. And what this send off food lesson does, guys, is it teaches multiple things to the horse. Number one, it teaches them to follow a feel, and then we can start getting more specific about the direction. So once we get them following a feel and establish a direction, we can just keep pushing them further and further away. And then we can start adding direction. So we can push them sideways and teach them to go sideways, whether we got anything on them or not. So a pretty little side pass with nothing on them, and then draw them back in. So we can teach forward, back, left, and right. And then the next thing is a ground tie, right? So stand to be saddled, all those things. That's from the prep, and we can get more advanced about things like this going in a trailer because of understanding their patterns and how they think. And that's going to lead me into talking about their 5 survival instincts. Those are things that I didn't learn until I, had been training for 20 years and developed a program. And it was that program that I developed to teach green riders to have success that actually propelled my own horsemanship and helped me understand horses to another level. So, it, again, the key, you'll hear me talking about that lot, is the, follow a feel concept. Once a horse understands what you're asking, it's very, very easy for him to fill in the blanks. But a lot of the problems that I find people have is their horse won't follow a subtle feel, so they just keep adding more and more pressure until they do respond to the pressure. The problem with that is we're always making them do something. We're always making them do the task. And I found that in the beginning, I didn't realize that that was making them. I thought I just was trying to get my horse as light as possible. But the whole time, my horse was still being, do the task, but there would still be some resistance there. And I could feel that. And, learning from all the best, I was searching and looking for the exercises that, my peers was doing, but it was always on their brokest horse that I would see look so good. And I'm like, I see what you're trying to achieve. I know what we're trying to do to get there, but what are those steps that I'm missing? Why I can't get my horse that sensitive? Okay. And so this very first step is what you guys are going to see is how we do that. Okay. Are you ready, Marina?
Yes, we are.
First of all, just do a sound check. Everybody can hear good. You can see this video is at full screen for you. Kaylee, anyone who can
Oh, we were, but oh, now we need to just need a spotlighter.
spotlight her? Okay.
So just for those of you that were having a hard time of seeing the black screen, you can, if you top on the top right under speaker view, you want to be, it to be speaker view. Oh, perfect. It looks like everybody's good to go now, Dad.
Okay. So this is a horse that you haven't worked before, correct, Marina?
Just once, but a long time ago. Since
Okay.
then, never. And he's 19. He's a spoiled horse, sometimes a little bossy. So I guess it's good to work with him.
Yeah, he's getting a little growly. And that's another reason we like to do send off food is because I can get the very first interaction with, you and your horse, so I can see if it's a dangerous situation. So we need to do, a different lesson. And the only thing I do different is you stand outside the fence to send him for the first time if they're real aggressive. So you can go ahead and walk out away from the pin just a little bit, probably about right there so we can still see you. And then, yeah, facing that direction. And now just set your food right down there. And he's going to put his head into it right away. So put your prep on instantly. That's the prep. Hold it for 4 seconds. Okay, now very slowly start building your energy. 1001, 1002, 1003. Did it lock up? Oh, there you go. Now just start your taps really light and keep building your taps until he scoots away. Keep building them, build them, build them, build it. One more time. Tap him. There, now stop. Good. So that's a hard thing to do for people on the first time, and we'll talk about that throughout the rest of the couple hours here, guys, is how do we establish that connection with a horse is to make them sensitive, right? Because when I talk about their survival instincts, there's only 5 survival instincts that pertain to training. Number 1 is the pecking order. Number 2 is flight, fight, do the opposite. And the 5th one is conserve energy. So what I find is a lot of times people want to build the bond with their horse first by spending time. And if I'm just being real here, guys, just, because you've seen it on TV on the Horse Whisperer, spending time with your horse will not build a bond. Going out and sitting in the field or spending quality time with your horse, not asking them to do anything, just brushing them, because you'll see lots of that on social media as well. The only thing you're teaching your horse is that you're not a threat, right? And the only thing that's going to help are horses that are fearful. But the second you start trying to add control, you're going to find that the pecking order is going to be the very first thing that you're going to have to address. So I'll just go ahead and get you to back in there, Marina, again, and we're working on patterns here now. So this second time that you start to push your horse, you want to stand the same place, get back up where you were, so you're in the exact same place. Turn a little bit, just you a little turn to the right a little more and side step left a little bit. There you go. Now turn on your prep again, just so you're in the same tracks every time. So that way nothing changes but your release. Now slowly build again. And he's either going to respond to one step or you're going to have to do a bigger scoot. And I predict you're going to have to do a bigger scoot. So start your taps really light again, super light. And the next one's a little harder. And keep building. And you might have to jump at him, keep building. Now hard and whack him. Jump at him. There, now stop. Stop. Good. So the reason I had you go at him bigger is because of how long he took to go again, right? He just showed you that he lacked respect. That puts him in the fight category, right?
I would probably have released when he did the step backwards.
Yeah.
I was about to release because I thought, oh, he did a step.
That's what people do. That's why we coach you, right?
Yeah.
If you could get your camera person to go back in the same place again, so we get the exact same angle every time.
Sorry. Do I go back too? Sorry.
You go back to in the exact same place you were at again, because we want everything to be the same. The only thing that changes is the release, right? And if the release changes, it paints the picture we're trying to paint here. Is if my horse responds to a feather or a soft, subtle command, they get released for one step. If they're late, they get scooted out of there just like an alpha horse would off a bale of hay. right? So because the pecking order is first in my books now, it wasn't, right? When I was growing up, it was very rarely talked about still today, unless you jump in this program. And that's all we talk about is a pecking order because it's first and foremost in every lesson, every day with every horse. And this horse will really show you the difference. I wouldn't worry about that. I just let him sit there and take the time he wants. So what's going to happen this time, I'm just painting a picture for you, is when you turn on your prep, he might be a little fidgety. He's going to lift his head up out of the bowl. So that's when you're going to turn off your prep and on your prep a few times. He's going to come in there quietly, just like he is right now, just like he would on a round bale feeder if you was the alpha that sent him off, right? And that's the way you want him coming in. You want him asking questions. You don't want him running the show. And because a lot of times people say, well, I don't want to be my horse's leader. I want to be their partner. And that's fine and dandy as long as you don't want to, go on a trail ride or go somewhere with that horse where safety is a concern. Because you're the only way that I've found in my lifetime, and I've tried everything under the sun, guys, to be safe is number one, you have to be his leader. In order to be his leader, regardless of anything that I've ever tried or heard, you have to start with respect, right? Because if you build that relationship on respect, you're on solid ground. That's biblical, right? That's a God-given way that things work in the herd. When a horse sends another horse off food, if he leaves early, that's all he does is pin his ears and look at him. It's that subtle. But if there's confrontation, pressure's gonna get high, right? And that's when we talk about those taps. And that's when I had you jump at him. And I know that you wouldn't have jumped at him that early because you're just starting this conversation, right? That would come later on down the road. But when you do it early, because the pecking order is the first thing we're establishing, it gets real easy. Just stay right there. He'll come. Just stay nice and quiet. Because all he's doing, this is like standing out in the field with him or spending time with him, right? He's just seeing if you're a threat or not. And he's ready for you to move him. And you want that. You want him to be ready for you to move him. And it's the same with everything. Like if your horse is under control at every step of the way, he's safe. Okay, now turn on your prep. I told you, see what I mean? How he's flinchy. Now just wait for a second. Now turn off your prep. There you go. See what I mean? So that flinchiness is important because now we can build on that and balance it out. So what we want with our prep is to teach our horse to wait patiently on the command. Because anytime you're starting to train a horse and do things in repetition, they start reading the play. The good news is they read the play. The bad news is they anticipate the play and they start getting ahead of you. So this time when you turn on the prep, he's going to move less. So turn on the prep, hold. There. Now just wait for a second. Now turn off the prep. And then you'll see as soon as he's done with that mouthful, he's going to come in again. Okay. Now this time, as soon as he starts in, I'm just going to have you turn on the prep and then off. Don't push him out. Just turn on the prep. Because it's these 7 steps that we're repeating, guys. Because what we repeat on this first lesson, we repeat with every lesson. If I'm going to teach this horse to spin, I'm going to follow this same protocol. Prep, hold, now off. Because what happens when you tell your horse, get ready, I'm going to spin? What most people do, and I done it too, is until I learned not to. I wasn't taught not to. Well, I guess I was by the horse. But prep, hold, now off. Good job. Good job. So I know a lot of you, if I can get an amen there, just raise your hand in the course. Those of you that's been in the course, if teaching your horse to move off the hand or move off food has been a struggle in the past for you, right? There we go. And it's always a struggle, I find, if we until we build this first step first. Now prep. Awesome. Now hold for 3 seconds or 4 seconds. Now start to build really slow. Get ready to release for one step. Build and stop. One step, one step. Build, one step. He got his head up. You just get one step. You got to get his feet. You got to build, 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 and stop. There, now off. Good. So that when you look at what that horse is going to be thinking about right now is a mix of what you just told him. He's going to respect you, and now his trust is going to go through the roof for you and his understanding of you. So he's going to learn he has to pay attention to you. If you were my 5-year-old granddaughter that was said whoa when something spooked him or light or snow started sliding off the roof or anything that got electric, and my granddaughter picked up on him, he would respect her because of her taps. And she didn't have to teach him the taps. I taught him the taps. Go ahead, turn on your prep, hold. Now this time get 2 steps. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, and stop. Good. Next time when you stop, just hold, because now we're going to start getting him to follow a feel, and then you can draw him back in. So that would be the next step right now, is drawing him in. So I'm just watching his mouth. And if you could wait for him to be done with the grain, but if he takes a step forward, put your prep out instead of turning it on light, put your prep out where you left it, right? Where you had him out there, because now we're going to draw him in. So your prep will be out this time so you can bring it in and call him in. And what I would do right now is look, he looks like he's just about out of grain. So put your prep out right now. Put your prep out, hold, good timing. Hold for 4 seconds, hold. Now very slowly release that pressure and bring it down. Good. And bring him right in. Awesome. Good job.
We had a good question from Jen in the chat. Dad, is when you're tapping, where are you tapping? Because you can't see from the video here.
It doesn't matter anywhere but in the eye. Right? Doesn't matter. I like to go low so I get him on the feet or on the chest. It doesn't matter as long as I don't send him forward. You know, he's got to go away from me. So wherever it makes sense to you. Okay, turn on your prep again, Marina. There. Now this time I expect him to be late. So let's just do again really, really slow. 1001, 1002. And because he's going to be late, you're going to go into a baby scoot. Keep going, keep going. Now start your taps really soft, really soft. Now the next one a little bit harder. Now the next, that's good. Don't move your feet. That's good. That's good. Good. So you don't have to move your feet now because you've already jumped at him once, right? So save your feet for when you got to jump at him. And that may happen again. Some horses are more bold, right? Then they're really strong in the pecking work. 'Cause that's the only way I change what I'm doing with a horse. Because I grew up that with the understanding, and my perception was you got to have a ton of experience because every horse is different and you have to know what to do with every horse. And that couldn't be farther from my thinking today. Every horse is the same, and it's because of understanding those survival instincts. The only thing is different is when my release is and what I do in a pattern. And how I change what I'm going to do is how high that horse is in the pecking order and how far he is in his training. That's the only thing that I change. Is if he's early in his training, I take baby steps and I break things down for him. If he's really dominant, then I'm not going to give him as much grace in leaving, right? If I give him, like right now, you've seen how many times you had to go. And it's when you started moving your legs, he got serious about it. But you've already told me that this horse is a bit of a dominant horse already, right? But I can see that in him right now from his patterns. If I never laid eyes on him or he never told me anything about him, just because of how long it took you and how many times you've had to tap him. Where a sensitive horse is not going to be that way. A sensitive horse, the second time you tap them, they're going to go off and likely won't come back in again, right? We're going to have to teach them, and I'll talk about that as we go on today about the concepts of training where a horse is thinking about at all times. Why I can read his next move, and it's just from doing things in order every single time with those 7 steps. Just turn on your prep, turn on your prep. Now push him out a step. 1001. Okay, if he's late this time, you're going to skip a step in your taps and ooh, 1 step and hold. Good girl. Hold, hold, hold. Now off. Good job. Did you see how I was already preparing you to skip a step in your taps? Because if he wouldn't have went right there, we are far enough into this process now where you can start skipping taps. And what that does is makes him believe in you more, right? Because if he starts predicting your taps, that's what he's done to make him sticky to this point, is he predicts your pressure. And why does he predict your pressure? Listen up, guys. This will be huge for you, and especially you more advanced riders. If you are of the thinking that you use pressure and release, because that's what we're taught with all the horsemanship gurus out there, pressure and release. We start with light pressure and we slowly build pressure till our horse responds. You are making your horse respond, right? Because and the only thing that changes that is our patterns and our taps. Because what I found with a stick, anytime it comes to a stick or a whip or spur or end of a bridle rein or end of a lead rope, when people use a tap, they try to do it or a whip. What they use a whip for is to correct bad behavior, or if a horse cannot move. They can't get one to move with that subtle build of pressure, right? Because what that subtle build of pressure does is just what this horse is doing. They start reading the play. So now just tap him firm. Ooh, that's good. Good. That was a good one. That was a nice enough tap, but it was firmer. So he definitely knew that you was changing the steps in your command. Because that's what our command is. Our command is 7 steps, right? It's the prep, and it's got to go together with the command or the angle. So you got the prep and then the angle that you're applying pressure. And then your pressure itself has to be super slow all the time. And then the taps. So as soon as we get to the taps, that's when things can change up, right? If I got a real sticky horse, I'm going to have to mix those taps up because I want him to believe in my prep. That means when I turn on the prep, he always stands like a rock. Doesn't matter if he's backed in a box or he's standing in the middle, a reining horse is standing in the middle getting ready to spin a blur, or a jumping horse is getting ready to go over a jump. He has to wait patiently till they're in position and not get ahead of themselves, and so he waits for that prep. Next is the angle. As soon as you start delivering a command, when you have life or movement of any kind, that becomes a command. As soon as you start delivering a command, it dictates the angle. So as soon as you start moving an angle, he knows exactly what direction you want him to move. And then the intensity of that pressure tells him how fast to move later on. And then
Hey,
if
oh,
then if he's late, go ahead, Kaylee.
sorry, Dad. Marie had a really great question. She said she's watching this horse willingly step away from the food dish, and there's no way in this world that her horse would ever walk away from a food dish. And there must be a lot of training before that this can happen. She's saying, how do you get a horse to this point? If she brings her horse into the arena, he's going to run and play. If food is involved, good luck getting him to back away before that dish is empty, and he isn't going to stand calmly staring at me. So how do we get to this point? That's what she's confused about. And Marie, if I remember correctly, you have the horse that you have a hard time moving on the ground, right? But not under saddle. But that's a really great question because I'll let you answer that, Dad.
Yeah, it is. It's from the mindset of, and it's from the concept of using more pressure. So we start with light pressure, and we got a limit of pressure, right? That's why we use a tap. So when I only have, when I've used all my pressure and my horse don't go, I'm at a loss. I got nothing else to give, right? Because my horse is bigger than me, he's stronger than me, he's faster than me. So I learned early on, if I'm going to be a leader for my horse, I can't use strength or speed, right? Because he's bigger than me and he's stronger than me. So when you add pressure to your horse and he don't ignore you, then it's the taps. The only way we have to bluff him is the taps. And the tap represents a horse to horse conversation. It's the only way that you can speak horse. And, I learned this from understanding the pecking order and having a passion to dive in deep and really understand the pecking order. Because and then being blessed to have being around large herds of horses all my life, right? We grew up with a band of brood mares. There was, 15 to 25 brood mares at all times, and a stud run loose with them. So, and then all of our ranch horses would be 10 or 15 geldings, their mares mixed in there. And so there was always a big herd that was kept together. Now where we're at now, we have 6 on a round bale feeder, and, next to, there's 75 head across the field there, just with packed off into 6 head in the pen. So you get to see the interaction. And so the tap is our bite and kick. So the ear pin is our subtle command to do whatever. And we just teach that to move on into the next steps. Okay. So did that answer it? So let's go ahead and call him in there now, Marina, and we'll call that a day. That was a really good day. Oh, no, just by putting your stick out there.
Sorry.
Put your stick out there with your
Out.
prep, like you did before. Put your
Yeah.
stick out in the prep, way out. Like, there you go. So you got lots. The further out you go, the more you can draw him in. Now just wait for him to look at you and then just draw him back in there. So, and you just got to wait him out here. It's just a wait time. Is he still got grain in the dish?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, back to that question I was just asking, and you said something else too. When you turn them loose into a pin and they start jumping around, bucking and kicking, I used to think they were playing and having fun. Good job. And I've learned after now that I have horses that have peace, you don't see that same thing, right? And some of you, if you've read my book, the ebook I just put out, it was basically The Horse I Never Knew. And that's how I discovered these 7 steps and these, survival instincts and these 3 concepts I think about training and put it all together. And, it wasn't until I had the passion to teach people is where I, genuinely got good at it, because my passion started out to train and show performance horses. And, once I got really good at that, well, I didn't get good at that until I got good at this 7 steps. But as soon as I went out on the road and went for my passion, I'd been passionate about my whole life and was doing good at it, was competing at a high level. I lost passion for that run. I went back and pursued the horsemanship side of things, just because of there's no better feeling than teaching somebody else to have that same success. And it starts with just my family and my wife and kids and everybody that we come in contact with. So you can just do the same thing. Just wait for him to look at you. But like I said, if your horse is running around and bucking and kicking and playing, I would say it's resentment. And resentment comes from control, right? And the resentment from control comes from everything we make them do, right? So everything that we teach our horse has to be a decision, including this move off food. And how we teach this horse to have a decision with move off food is a strategically timed pattern of this 7 steps. You just got to wait, Marina. Yeah, I wouldn't even mess around until he's ready to look at you. Just chill out there till we get our next horse on here.
Yeah, I think that something in kind of to follow up on Marie's question is, how do we get to here? And it's really not on what we're doing, because these our students, not only do they have our program that we first start helping them understand all these 7 steps that Doug's talking about. So when they head to the pen, they're clear on exactly what, when, why, and how before they head out. And then on top of that, our students have unlimited coaching. So these lives, they get to book these lives with Doug whenever they want, as well as have a private coaching space where they can send in a video and then get private coaching back, where you can actually watch your video and have Doug coach right over top of it. So although it might seem like a long journey, Marie, that problem that you're having with being stubborn on the lead, that's why this is such a great first exercise, because leadership is so black and white with a horse. We have to, if there is lean, that's keeping your horse from leadership, and same with runaway. So that it might seem like a lot of trading, but it's not necessarily what you do. It's knowing how to have the conversation clearly and how to motivate them to get that soft and willingness is what, and that's what you'll apply to every single thing you do. So this is just where we first learn to have that conversation.
And this, if I may say, it really helps when you have this live Zoom with Doug. Like, this helped me a lot. So first you try yourself and you figure out what's not working. And then with this live Zoom calls, you really learn what works. And you will, like, everyone will make mistakes. Like but that's how we learn. And it will not work from the first time. I had the issue, I could send them off, but they never came back in. So it's interesting. Depends on the horses and lots to learn.
Yep. Yeah, there is lots to learn, and it is a journey. That's why I just don't post it, because I started out with a DVD package. So my whole program was on DVDs. And, you know, that's how I was going to save the world. And then I realized that, holy cow, it was, you know, out of all the DVDs and all the people that bought the DVDs, I seen a very small percentage of people that was actually getting what they needed from the DVDs. Although they're broke down very simple, the people would always say, "Oh, I love your DVDs, very well done," but I didn't see the fruit in it because you can only learn so much from a DVD. Because like this horse right here, where you're learning from the live, Marina, is that you know they have a hard time coming in because we don't know what they're thinking at the time they're thinking, you know. But when you can start predicting their next move, and that's why I said, like, he's standing over there. Number one, he's got a horse right next to him, so he's buddied up there. And
His
number
girlfriend.
two, yeah, we've only addressed right now the fight instinct, right? Because the fight instinct is when he argues a command. And it didn't look like much of an argument, but you know, Marie had said her horse, there's no way you're going to push that thing off food, right? And there's a lot of horses like that that would get real aggressive about it. Good job, Marina. Good timing. And that's all you're doing is taking the time it takes for him to think about that. And then he will, and I love when he's dropping his head because that's when they give up their position in the pecking order, just like they do with an alpha horse. Because I don't, what I find is as humans, we want things right now, right? So if I had a video to do send off food, when I showed you how easy that first step would be, it happened in about a minute and a half, right? So if I just put that video up there, and that's what we're learning now, that's the video that needs to be up there, so you know where that end game is for step one, you know, and then we graduate to step two. So when I'm guiding you, I told you exactly when to start stopping your horse, and you seen how easy it was. It's because I was addressing what he was thinking at the time he's thinking it. And it is a gelding, isn't it? Because it drives me crazy calling a mare a gelding.
That's good. Yeah.
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 We know a
So,
good time for questions, Dad.
okay, I think we need to move on to another horse here, Kaylee. But if you, while we're working there, if you just want to step forward, Marina, just take 3 or 4 steps forward, and he's going to look at you and stop right there. Now just hold. Now take another step forward. When he looked away, stop. Just one step. And then if he looks at you, you'll back away. So this is also balancing out that sensitivity. So there, back away a step, just one, just one. So if you back away too much, we overdo the command, right? We start begging. One step forward, that's good. Smaller steps. And now another step just because he's kind of ignoring you, and stop. So really present the stop. Now, if if he starts giving you one step back, that's enough there. So if he gives you a bigger move, take a bigger step, right? So if he looks away a little bit, take a little step forward. Good. So you take a bigger step forward now because he looked away further. Good. So you're working on your approach right now, right? So you're just being productive with your lesson.
And if he would make a step towards me, then do I
Take
release
one
then, or
step
what
back.
to do?
One step back.
Up.
Yeah, just one step. By backing away all the way to the food, I'm begging him, and now he knows I'm begging him. I just want to have a conversation, and if I'm right with him right when he's thinking, that's what you're doing right now. When he looks away, I'm getting closer to him because some horses have a thing about catching them, especially if they're work horses, right? If they got to go to work on a trail ride, every time you go catch them, now they got to go get the saddle on and go to work. So each time, like there, now just one step back, lower your hands a little bit. Yeah, I wouldn't even use my prep there now because it's too much for him. I just put the stick behind me and hold it in one hand by the handle. So the back of the stick, you'll just pick it up when you back up and drag it when you go forward. I'd take one step forward right to his cheek. So your belly button's right on his cheek. Kaylee, do you know if Jim is ready?
He is. He just, if you go through, his name is James in here. So if you just search James, he is ready to go and promote him as a panelist.
Okay. Oh, James.
you want me to wait till you're done doing that to read you the questions?
No, go ahead. I'm done. He's in.
Okay, so Carolyn said, can this work influence a dominant horse with other horses?
Well, that's a really good question, and I have had it change him, but this is just the start of it. But when I found the change in him is when I put him in a herd of other horses, and I'm working them. So if I'm working them off another saddle horse, and you know, be aware of that. Like if I've got a really dominant mean horse, and what I mean by mean is they have little bluff and big kicks or big bites, right? But if they're all bluff, if they really shake their head, they really pin their ears, they squeal, but they're not really violent, then they're, yeah, for sure. But if they're really hard kickers, then set yourself up for success and do more pushing them and making sure they're melting, and then melt them in arena off another horse before you add another horse, and just add one horse at a time. But what I do is work them in a group at Liberty. So anytime I'm working a horse at Liberty, it always starts out with this same concept. In fact, this same concept, I start with everything. Like I said, I need to make them sensitive to a push from the back of another horse, which is easily done. Next is I need to establish a direction, because as soon as I start sending them to the left, they're going to try to go to the right. And I need to have a conversation about that without forcing them, but make it their idea, right? And that's what I was talking about before with this, this horse, when we're sending them off food, they are going to go off food, guaranteed. I know it. But how we present it to them so they have a choice is that time clock. If they respond early, early release. If they respond late, more work. So I'm doubling down. I'm motivating them to respond. Now back away. That a girl. Just once. That's good. That's good. Don't beg. That's where you'll get in trouble, because there you go. Now step up there forward. Step up there. Step right up to him this time. Right up there. Right up there. Look closer. Stop. There you go. Now just exhale a little bit. Just relax, because he's kind of tense. So you just kind of let the tenseness out of your body. There you go. Now back up softly, one step. There you go. Now go forward. Just try not to be late on your restart. As soon as you back away, he's either going to look at you or look back where he come from. I'd take another step forward. Make sure you're going towards his cheek. Hey, Jim, if you want to turn your camera on, I can get you rolling here.
Another question is, once this is established, how often do you do it again, or just revisit it if you notice it needed?
Well, that's a really good question, because this lesson is designed more for the person than the horse, but because it's been very effective with the horse, um, it's good for the horse if you have a dominant horse, like I said, but the practice is more about you and doing the cool things you can teach him. We can teach him those cool things that you've seen in that video online as well, right? But we do want to get good at those 7 steps, because that's what takes time. And so when you're doing this lesson, just sending them off food is only one step. We want to get so we can control their every move, right? We can send them backwards, draw them forward. We can change our angle, move them left, move them right, send them in a trailer by just pointing, anything you want to do. And there's all, good job, Marina. Very good job.
Nice.
Now you can go back further.
Sorry. Go back further.
Yeah, you can go back there all the way to the grain and let him have the reward of the grain. I should have told you that. If you see he's coming with you, you can keep going until you get the grain. But because we stopped, he's just wandering a little bit. Just hold him a second. Just stay there. Try to pet him real slow. Just rest your hand on him. There you go. Just rest it there quiet. Just rest it on him. There you go. And just let your heartbeat go through the palm of your hand to him.
Another really great question from Jeff was, where would she start tomorrow if he does not come in?
He's going to come in right away. It's the first time you send him off is going to determine whether I have to scoot him again. And if he's late, I'm going to have to scoot him, guaranteed. That is first on every horse, on every lesson forever. Because if you don't have sensitivity, you're going to lose what's coming next, right? Because we have to build sensitivity first, and then we can control them, because they go into the runaway side of things. And we haven't really had to address the runaway here, as so far we haven't. And this horse that Jim's working with, we're likely not either. But I think the third horse we have today did have some runaway in our last live. So we will address that runaway evasion, but on the halter.
Awesome. And just I wanted to finish up the questions on this lesson. When Liz asks, when do you know when to finish a session at what stage?
That's that's a good one right there. Yeah. So what we call, that's a pattern. The pattern will always tell you that. So before I shut you off there, Marina, good job. Super proud of you. That was an awesome session.
Yeah.
I'm so
Thank
happy.
you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay, can we turn your camera sideways there, Riley? You might have to unlock. So this next little guy here, he's got to be 5 months now. Some of you in the course have seen me work with him. You've seen the very first lesson that I put on him at Liberty. So this is Jim, aka James. He's my son-in-law. So he's going to be working with him because he's our farrier as well. So he's just going to be working on his feet. I think we've done 2 or 3 days of working on his feet. I think we're locking up there.
There we go.
There we go.
Do you have time for 2 more questions, Dad?
You can, yeah, shoot him out
Do you
there.
end the session on grain or off grain?
It doesn't matter. I would always try to end it on grain, but it really doesn't matter. Like if he went off and stayed off and I couldn't get him on, I'd just quit the day on head down, right? Or something else, and then, bring the grain out again tomorrow. Always understand if he won't come to grain and when he's been on grain, because some horses have never had grain, then they're not hooked on it yet. So we got to kind of get them hooked on it first before it's a thing. But I'm always trying to quit for, if I had to do an order, the very first thing I quit on is acceptance. That's the pecking order. Once I have the pecking order established, that acceptance is only for the lesson I've taught him. So what Jim is working on right here now, and we're going to go on to that. Hopefully that answered the question, Kaylee, but we're going to go on to head down. So Jim is just going to ask this baby to do head down. And if he finds any resistance, he's going to start to ask him to back up. And that's the reason he's going to back him up, is because he found the resistance or he didn't stay down for 4 seconds. So staying down for 4 seconds is him showing us that acceptance to head down. The backup is motivation to get that acceptance, because the pecking order is not established with a horse until we have movement. I would loop it over your thumb, Jim. Just get that 6 feet of line over your thumb, and then I'd start putting him down again. That way, when you drop it down there, he's that rope's not pulling him forward. So just stay with him and go all the way to the ground, and then stand up right away, and then restart as soon as he comes up. Restart again. So we just got to think about timing, the timed release and the restart. So the timed release is what he did right. The timed release is what he did right, and the restart is what he did wrong. So that's how we have a conversation. Yeah, good, Jim. So now you can just turn and walk away, because he stayed down there long enough to show acceptance in that particular maneuver, which is head down. Yeah, just walk around in a circle. So we haven't taught him to ground tie yet. This is his first kick at that. So if he walks off the ground tie, go all the way in a circle, all the way around him, Jim. If you can go without walking in the mud. A lot of rain here, guys. So the backup will also be keep walking. Yeah, keep walking. Let him make a big mistake. There we go. Just keep walking. He's fine. Keep walking. There you go. There you go. See him learning? He keep walking. Just don't even look at him. Just keep walking. Because if you're looking at him, he's questioning what he's doing wrong. So just keep walking, looking down, walking where you're going, and just stay on a nice circle. I'd do a couple more circles around him without being in the mud there. So you can see now he just dropped his head and accept that. He realized, okay, I don't have to walk off the ground tie, because he was questioning whether he needed to for a second there. You guys see that?
Mhm.
And that's how you read them in patterns, right? So that ooh, good choice. Do you see that? I don't have to correct that. He just taught himself. And I love watching their reaction because, guys, what you'll learn, first of all, you have to learn the 7 steps. And once you learn the 7 steps, then you start getting good at them, right? Because you start getting a timing and feel and balance. And balance is how much yin and yang you need, right? How much sensitivity you need before you start desensitizing, right? And once you have that, then you just get better and better at reading patterns. So you start, you work enough horses, you really start reading the play because every horse has only 3 things they can do: fight, flight, and do the opposite, all driven by the pecking order, right? But the conserve energy will also get your horse to do a willing lesson. But if he's conserving energy to do that lesson, good job, Jim. Now just go and back him up. And while you're backing him up, just keep his neck level because he'll put his head down right away. Just stand up straight, keep his neck level, and let's work on his left hind foot. So we're going to talk to him by pushing to the point of his left shoulder. Grab your other rope so you can tap him a little bit with your other hand. Oh, you got a stick in your hand? Yeah. So just back him up just by going in a circle, Jim. So you're going to keep backing him up, only releasing when his left hind foot is in the air. Sorry. That was not the lesson I gave you yesterday. This is a different one here. So we're going to steer him like backing up a horse trailer. You got to turn to the right in order to get your trailer to go to the left. Good. Now just tap a little bit if he's a little bit, just a little bit. There you go. Nice. So how we're talking to his right hind is angle. You heard me talk about angle before. So when we push to the point of his left shoulder, he's going to step to his right with his right hind. And then all we do is keep that movement going so the backup motivates that command. There, Jim. Good job. Good. Hold for 4 seconds. Now drop the rope and walk away in a big way, like walk away like you mean it. And then start doing a circle around him again. Keep going. Don't look at him. And if he walks off the rope again like he did before, you'll just go back and do that again. And we'll maybe talk to his left hind. Okay, so there may be some questions on that, but I will try to explain it as good as I can. So how a horse learns what body part we're after is from the time of contact, angle, and the time of release, right? So the first contact told the horse to back up. The change of angle tells him that we're looking for something else, right? So he's going to try to get away from that by bending his head to the left, stepping his shoulder to the left or the right, or stepping his feet one way or another, right? So they're going to try to move all their body parts around. All I have to do is wait for him to go through all those choices, because that's the key to it, is give him the choices to move all of his body parts the wrong way and wait for him to move the correct body part that we're going to attach that angle to and release for that body part. And then releasing for that body part 3 times in a row is going to give you acceptance, right? Because what you're going to see is the first time it took 1 circle to get that body part, right? Jim moved almost exactly 1 circle. So this next time, if he walks off that ground tie today, we're going to back him up and we're going to see if he gives us that left hind leg in half a circle or less, right? If he does, then we quit and we let him ground tie there. So it's those patterns when we're teaching breaks everything down and makes it very clear. And I don't want to get too technical, but that's, I didn't get that technical in the beginning. So I know a lot of people have success without being that technical, but that's what showed me how to read the next play and how long it's going to take to teach him all of those things. There he goes. So he notice how he flung his head before he walked off. Now go right into that again. Get 6 feet, go nice and slow, and you're going to work on that left hind, or his right hind again, sorry. And just back him up and tap him a little bit if you need to, if he's late. And that fence is really going to get there. See, it was a good release right there, Jim, because he stepped and then restart again and then start again. I always start down the middle of his chest and then change the angle out. Nice. Nice. Now back him up again, straight down the middle. Oh, Yeah, he's chewing. Let's let him have that chew. Good. Yeah, I don't think he's there yet, but we'll just let him make the mistake anyway.
I got one really good question if you're up for it right now, Dad.
Shoot.
Marie was just saying, can a horse actually be resistant to learning these new things? She's had her horse for 2 years with no formal training and he's spoiled and she's obviously not the boss, she says. Is there any horses who just refuse to change? She said she can't help but think of a bratty kid who ends up in jail because they won't listen. One issue she has is a Pasofino and all the trainers at my barn refuse to help because she doesn't want him to be a compete um she
Uh,
doesn't want him as a competitive Pasofino.
right. Yeah, I mean, every horse can learn. It's my stud horse, I think he's 20 or 21 this year. I've taught him everything I know to do, but I'm always looking for new things to teach him. And they learn through patterns, and those patterns are their survival instincts, right? Because they are horse is a creature and a product of his surroundings. It's just like a human, right? Because I know lots of world-class trainers, and you guys maybe are in that category or know somebody in that category who have their system that they've done for years and it works and they know exactly the way it's going to roll out and shake out and then in the end they're still at the same place. But what's happening in the horsemanship world today and has been for the last few years is things are changing, right? There's people are getting there quicker. Less experienced people are taking in those lead positions in the high performance fields, right? Like Ian Miller held the spot for how many years, right? And now the young guns are moving in there in that industry. Same thing in the cow horse world, right? We had our first lady to ever win the world's greatest this year. So, there's a big change in horsemanship worldwide, not as fast as I think it needs to be, but we're doing our part. But it's opening your mind to start with. Your concept of what horsemanship is going to 100% be predicted by your past experiences, right? And like I said, that person that's trained horses for years or a high level competitor, they don't want to stray off what they know because they've been a lot of years doing it. And in their mind, it just takes too much. They might add pieces to it, but they're not going to upset the whole apple cart. So yes, you can change them. And I will tell you, it starts with respect first, because if once he's sensitive, you open a horse's mind, just like we just watched with a paint horse, just like we're going to watch with this baby, because all we're doing is head down and back up for acceptance, right? And the first acceptance was head down. Now the next acceptance is going to be the ground tie, and that can go on forever, right? The ground tie. But what we're going to do next, Jim, because you achieve that, is go work on his feet. That's what he needs. So we're going to use the backup as motivation when and you don't got to work on his feet, just pick him up. You don't actually have to trim on him or anything. We're just going to start with just picking up one foot and grab the lead rope and put it behind you when you walk up there so you got him so he can't turn or anything. And just start by touching him on the neck and just go with him now because he's wondering what you're up to. I'd keep my hand real quiet, just touch him and hold it still. There you go. Now just keep it on him. Yeah, you can just keep it on him and go all the way down his neck or down his leg real slow, real slow. Goodness, stay there. Now you found a hot spot right at his knee, so stay right there. There, now you can walk away a bit. And you don't have to really walk away, you can just stand up and turn away from him a little bit. And if it's big, like turning and walking away would be something I'd do if we've been really struggling with something big that was deep rooted and we got through it. So I always let the reward fit the challenge, right? How much resistance there was there.
So if you do guys have a question, try to post it in the Q&A section if you can. I'm trying to pull them from the chat. If you have a hard time, I'll do my best. But Linda she doesn't understand the angle thing. Jim is aiming at his certain leg and waiting for what? When does Jim know to stop and drop the lead rope?
When he's able to pick up all 4 feet, like he's just going to change it from side to side. He's going to, he can go any foot he wants to, but the angle is the only angle I think about in this case is my right hand. And it's not so much an angle, it's which would be angle, right? So I want to touch him on the neck and then keep my hand connected to him, and I rub my hand on him down towards his leg so I can identify a hot spot. I wouldn't want to just reach down and grab him by the ankle because it comes in too hot, right? He don't know where I'm going. But if I touch him on the neck and run my hand all the way down his leg, he knows early that I'm going for a leg. But if I just reach down there and grab a leg, especially the hind leg, it's a good chance that he would kick me. Now, he don't know how to lead forward, Jim. That's okay. He's following you. Good job. Good job. We're going to do that next. We haven't even taught him to lead forward. That's how green he is here. Now just follow him and keep your hand on his bum, and I used to rub him lots and that kind of stuff. I kind of quit that. I just stay really quiet and steady. So I take my hand and cause I'm only telling him one thing. But if I'm rubbing him down and up, I find it's almost tricking him, right? And I quit. I want to be an open book when it comes to my horse. I want him to know exactly what I'm doing, and I want him to know exactly where the end is, and I want him to know exactly what the motivation is, because every horse will learn what you ask them to do, and then every horse will challenge what you taught them to do, right? No horse just learns it and does it perfect every time. People think they do, but they're not aware of their pressure. So what took well, I'll say that your pressure goes from 1 to 50. What took a 25 to move him yesterday, that's how subtle I measure pressure, by the way. Very, very subtle. So if you was at a 25 and that was as light as you think you can be, and you got your horse to respond yesterday, and he's at a 30 today, which is not much change, but your horse knows the change. And then he'll be a 35 tomorrow and a 40 the next time, right? And then when he's feeling like not doing it one day, he don't really feel as good that day, he might even be a 50 or a 60 or 75. And that day you realize that it's not as good, but you just add more pressure and he does it so that you still pet him and he's all good, right? So that's why we measure our command with a clock, not a scale, right? So it's timed. I want to be as subtle as I can so there's no physical pressure at all. It's just a touch. It's either no pressure at all, like we started with, or it's a touch on the halter shank. So that's getting worse, Jim. So stay with him until you get him to stop. So is it still getting worse? As soon as you recognize that it's getting worse, when it's a good time, then I would start backing him up. Yeah. Now just grab him real slow and stay on that other side of him if you can. I'd switch hands so you're on that side. And I would back him up and get his other hind leg. Just get your tapper ready and just nice and slow, as quiet as you can, step for step, keep backing him up. So you're going to push to the point of the shoulder closest to you. Get your arm on this side of his nose. There you go. And then back him up and time your release. Make sure your angle is out to the point of that shoulder. Stand up straight so it don't hurt your back. And then just time your release when he steps out to his left with his left hind leg. And be careful not to push harder if he refuses a little bit. You got to use your rope to tap him lightly. He understands taps. You can just tap him really, really light to keep him moving and back up. There you go. He's got to stay backing up. Good. And that's a good question. I just seen it pop up. Do I use voice? Do I talk to my horse? Yes, I can talk to my horse, but I don't teach any voice commands ever until they follow a feel with every body part. And that's just me. I'm not against voice commands, but when I teach voice commands, it's only voice commands, right? So I'd give it first, and then I follow up with the rest. So I'll talk to him and say things like good boy or good girl and things like that. And, I talk to them like they're a buddy. But as far as putting a command on them, I use few commands. Go ahead, Jim. I'd go back there again. Same side.
So Linda's wondering, what is back up till you get the other hind leg? And someone else is asking, what do you want the hind foot to do?
Step out so we can steer him from his hind leg. So we can turn him to the left or turn him to the right. By changing the angle subtly to the point of his shoulders, he will step opposite of that. So if I push to the point of his left shoulder, he will step to the right with his right hind.
So
Good job.
ultimately, we're just looking for soft and willing body control on every angle, correct?
Soft and willing body control at every speed. Yep. Every
All
direction.
that, because everything he's doing here, this transfers right to under saddle. So by the time we swing our leg over, whether it's a colt or someone, even if it's just a fresh horse or a horse we don't feel confident on, this is how we can swing our leg over confidently because you're really just learning how to recognize the moment a resistance arrives and how to remove that so that your horse will soft and willingly move in any body part in any direction in any speed. When you go where you say, when you say, how fast you say, because that is leadership is so black and white. That is what leadership is. We have the question asked all the time. How do we know that we're safe to get on? Well, the asset test to leadership is complete. It's complete. It's peace and rest and complete softness and willingness. So if we have resistance, which means hard to move, or if we have runaway, which means moving without you asking, that's a sign that you're lacking that leadership and you need, well, that's what we're doing here. Hopefully
Great
that
job.
makes sense.
Good job.
So we got all 4 feet picked up here.
Yeah.
No resistance.
Good job.
We got a good backup.
Yeah, I think I would go back and check I think it was his left front and his right hind. Weren't they the two that were the most resistant?
So I just went back to his right hind 2 extra times after I went back around to the other feet there, but I'll check another front foot. There was no resistance back on that one that initiated the backup in the whole deal here.
Yeah.
So I'll go back over.
So the number one thing that I want to teach this baby at this stage, guys, is how to be motivated to be accepting in feet, right? Not just that I'm picking up his feet. That's key. And it's the same thing with send off food. A lot of people get confused. They think, oh, I can or can't send my horse off food. Sending off food is not the big goal, right? That's just the stepping stone to get to our big goal. Think of the video that we watched in the beginning of the horses moving 20, 30 feet away, nothing on their face, sideways, both ways, or forward and back, right? That's me riding bridleless. That's me, that's doing anything that you want to do with a horse, spinning a blur, going over a jump, turning back with a cow, waiting in the box for an intense explosion, waiting in the middle of a reining show to spin rapidly, staying on a loose rein and having complete control of my horse when a thunderstorm rolls in, big lightning strikes and thunder and all the horses scatter but yours, right? It's because of these concepts I'm talking about here, and it's because they've been taught to do that from the beginning, from the first lesson. And how would that work? How does sending them off food going to apply to a thunderstorm? The only place that it starts at a thunderstorm is the pecking order, right? Because if my horse won't send off food willingly, he will not stand still when the snow slides off the roof or a big thunderhead rolls in, right? If he does, it's because he's completely numb to it, right? Or he's been there and done that so many times, and we got a big enough bid on him. But if you take this baby right here, and he hasn't been taught the concepts that we're teaching him, and we go out in a thunderhead or go out into a arena where the snow slides off the roof, there's a good chance that this baby will have a come apart. It happens every day. Look, just if you watch one video on social media about that, you can go on forever. There's endless videos of people getting in major wrecks with their horse because of overexposing them. They're not taught to handle the pressures that's going to happen in the real world because of our concept, right? We have a different mindset, right? We think everything happens out of fear. And, I said I was going to talk about concepts, and now I guess is as good a time as any while we're switching riders there. We're going to be just about ready, Betsy, if you are. But horses, I'm going to say that all horse accidents that are branded as it was a fearful situation, I think I would be low if I said 95% of them are not genuine fear. that'll raise a few eyebrows, and a few of you might say, "Oh, bull crap! It was fear, the one I had," because I've had a bunch of them myself too, and I thought it was genuine fear. But when you dive in deeper and you realize what they're doing, you'll realize it wasn't fear. It was my lack of understanding of how they think and how I dealt with them, all the way up to leading to fear. Like a grouse flying up at a horse. Yep. Any of those things. So I think about when I'm teaching a horse to handle fear, I'm thinking about the startle effect, and I'm thinking about the pressure effect, where when um, when a whatever scares them comes right at them, like a paper bag in a little twirly wind comes rolling at you. Anything that scares them. Um, you can go ahead and stop your camera if you want. Jim, do you have any questions on what you're doing there, buddy? What to do next? I would just take a rasp to him and start working on his feet a little bit and keep that same concept going. Back him up until you get him dialed in. Thanks a lot, buddy. Appreciate you. Okay, Betsy, you want to just give us a little rundown on this horse?
Yes, this is Boots. He's a 4-year-old Missouri Foxtrotter, and I picked him as my competition horse for a 120-day colt starting competition that specializes in getting rescue horses started and then adopted out.
Awesome. So his deal, I'm just going to fast forward a little bit. His deal is he would kind of do things before he was asked with you. He would anticipate it and kind of be ahead of you.
Yes.
And a little bit worried about being in trouble, is what I found. And I just got to ask you, since we done our last live, it was a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it?
Like last week. Yes.
Was it only last week? Yeah.
I think so.
Did he change from that session? Have you noticed a change?
He's still jumpy with people, but we've been making people like come up to him and just like walk up to him and like pet him, and so he's let a bunch of different people come up and start like touching on him without him skirting off and trying to run away from them. So
yeah,
we've just gone more careless with him on that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to throw your halter on him, I think what we'll do is, when you got him cold like that, is just go right into head down. And if he'll put his head down right away, then you can just ground time and grab your flag and see what we get. Is your flag right towards the camera? Is that the flag I see? Yeah. So just do head down and try to get him facing this flag when you end. If you got to back him up, just do head down first.
Okay.
Change hands. So if you're on that side, stay on that side. There you go. Now just back up for that. Yeah, because he already started to run away. So we've talked about the fight a bit, guys, where horses will lean on a command and challenge it. And he did a little of that, but it was flight as well, because he's trying to move his feet to get away from it. So just what you're looking for now, Betsy, is as soon as you see that resistance, like see how his head's kind of bobbing, right there, and turn it into a backup. There you go. Now just softly back him up. So you keep the command on him light, but you keep asking for the head down, so he will present to you real clearly when it's time to quit backing, and he'll put his head down. But the only way we're going to know that is we have to keep asking subtly with down pressure, and then the angle is back towards his chest. So that's how we're asking two things, is the angle. So the angle is we have slight down pressure on the halter shank, which is representing head down. And then we have pressure towards his chest, which is representing the backup. So we teach him that if he resists the head down, then he needs to back up. And that's where we start fixing feet. Horses that are aggressive to saddle, pin their ears to saddle, raise their head to get away from the bridle, won't stand still for what have you, won't stand still to mount. Like there's almost anything you can fix from the ground through this motivation of the backup. Or the next lesson that Betsy's going to do is move off the hand. Nice. So then just walk away. Good job. Now just turn around, put your hand out, and just back him up again. Hand out right away, so he knows you're going to back him up as soon as you look at him. grab 6 feet of that halter shank and put it over your left thumb. Keep him backing up. Just get your rope managed there. There you go. Now you see he's a little bit there. When you start gathering that rope, just get one loop. There you go. Did you see when you felt that in him? When you started gathering that rope, it bothered him a little, right? So I would mimic that. I would keep flailing my arms around a little bit, keep him out in front of you, and just, without adding pressure to him, don't add physical pressure to him, but add high energy with your hands until he quits responding to that. So we're just going to take out all that reactiveness through the backup. Slow your legs down. So you're just a tick behind him. There you go. There you go. So he's not moving from your legs. He's moving actually from your left hand. That a girl. So it looks really easy when I'm coaching these guys to you that's never maybe seen me before. And that's the reason that this online deal works. And that's the whole purpose for this thing is, we've got a few spots open and we're going to pitch you at the end of this deal on, how we can help you out in your horsemanship deal, regardless of, whatever your means are, whatever your goal is. But without those 7 steps, even when I was in live clinic mode, when that's all I was doing was live clinics, having those 7 steps made it so much easier to coach people, right? And then it's the strategic lessons that I found after that is the reason for all of our fast success. Because, I've been training horses a long time, teaching people a long time, and the success we're having with the online students surpasses live trainings, not by a little bit, probably tenfold, at least 10 or 12x, at least. And I got students that will say the same thing because I have some students in here that have done both, right? They've got 10 or 20 years in live clinics and a couple of years in online clinics. And it's because of consistency, guys, right? There's certain things that we can't teach in a clinic, that it's just too slow paced. But in an online setting, it's we can be really dialed in on exactly what, there you go, Betsy, on exactly what needs to be handled. Yeah, so you can see every time you move your hands, he's questioning it, right? So that tells me that he was a little bothered by somebody in his past, his experiences. Most of the time, I find it could be stemmed clear back when he was a baby and before he was broke enough to, stay away from your bubble and that stuff. They get real pushy and, they step in your space and step on somebody's toes or hit them with their head and usually make somebody a little bit angry. So they go at him and spank on him for doing something wrong. Because there's a lot of that in the industry where people will, spank on a horse for bad behavior and trying to correct behavior. And you cannot correct bad behavior without any repercussion with tapping them. But you can, this is the good news, you can correct any bad behavior by movement if you'll stay in a conversation long enough that movement reestablishes a pecking order and then the motivation kicks in to not do whatever they're doing, whether it's fear-based or dominant-based. Right?
Linda's asking, is she waiting for the head to go down?
Yes.
If you have time for another quick question, how do you transfer the groundwork to riding? I have horses who excel at groundwork, but once I get on their back, they don't trust like they do on the ground.
It's a very good question too. And then the reason for that is, boy, when you look around at the industry, if you can actually think about what you're doing with your horse, I've got a few of them, without, I don't want to knock on any trainers, but if I'm going to stand in the middle of my round pin and point to the left and whip him behind his back to make him go to the left, I'm like a traffic cop out there. That horses don't understand that. So number one is your groundwork has to speak horse. So number two is you have to put yourself in a position to, I'll tell you another one right there. Shaking that lead rope out in front of your horse back and forth to make him back up is not something I can do under saddle. So why would I do it on the ground? But what Betsy's doing right here is teaching him to follow a feel. That's why I stopped her early and said, don't back him up with your legs. Have your legs a tick behind the move and make it come from your left hand, pull him back into that rope. So if that rope is going backwards, it'll be the same feel when I'm on him to get that stop and back up. And, you know, a lot of things. People will disengage hips by leaning over in their body, right? They send them over and bend their hips, so they disengage their hips by leaning over. Again, can't be done from their back. Boy, I can go on lunging. Everything that we're doing lunging can't be done from their back.
Yeah, I think it's really important to understand if you, especially if you are new to the Training Through Trust program. Doug, my dad, he created, his passion was to teach people how to train horses soft and willingly, especially into the performance world. And when we created the program, we've had our step-by-step program was fine-tuned down so that every single lesson, it, like just like you said, it completely transfers to under saddle. There's no games. It's all about teaching your horse to follow a feel soft and willingly. So every single exercise we do on the ground transfers to under saddle, but it's not in what we're doing because we've had our program. Doug's been teaching it as well as me and my siblings and a lot of our trainers around the world, helping to teach people on this program and with the DVDs and live coaching. But it wasn't until the last 25 years where my dad really fine-tuned and narrowed down, and how the 7 steps were created was by following that clear program that was duplicatable for everybody, and really fine-tuning it and seeing what he was having to constantly coach people on to get them to that level of soft and willingness, which is exactly what those 7 steps are. Our program was a very clear exactly what to do, but the 7 steps are for the horsemen. They're to help fill in all of your guys' knowledge gaps, to learn how to truly how to read your horse and how to master your communication. Because in live training, we're able to train the horse, but the students weren't ever able to truly understand why we were saying what we were saying when we were saying it, which is why, your preparatory command, your angle, your pressure, your taps, your timed release, your restart, and your patterns, that journey is very much the horseman's journey. But once you go through that journey, you are able to create and maintain that soft and willingness with anybody in the future. I always relate it to, like, if I wanted to speak Japanese, many people in the horse world have the basics of how to get by a conversation, but they don't have enough of they're not clear in horse language. It's just they're just out there doing what they do in order to either move their horse or maybe even move it softly. But the difference between moving your horse softly and taking a lesson and using it to create and maintain soft and willingness, that's what takes the 7 steps. And the 7 steps included with our, as well as the live coaching, because we have to fine tune, that's why we start with the send off food. We have to fine tune your commands, your delivery of pressure, your understanding of timing and release. And I can tell you, as his daughter, I started homeschooling when I was in grade 9 to train with him, and the 7 steps completely changed my life, which truly taught me how to find that horse I never knew. And it wasn't just in some horses, it's in every horse. Like Marie had asked earlier, are some horses more resistant? Well, yes, but there's no horse that we can't create leadership for through the 7 steps.
Okay, go ahead. You can grab your flag if you want there now, Betsy. Yeah, so that just kind of backs up what we were saying earlier. He's more worried about people than he is things, right? So you've done a good job with your flag and stuff. So it's people. So that's the way I would address that going forward is anytime you feel he kind of gets animated or lifts up and gets strong in your hand, just wave your arms around and, represent that you're try to mimic what may have happened in his past. And it was something that was pretty traumatic to him, right? Because it's
Right.
anything that's that deep rooted is going to be in there. Yeah. So I think you can leave your flag alone there now. You got your stick, grab your stick, and we'll just walk out in the center and like grab him and coil up all your lead rope and just walk out in the center and drop the rope as you're walking. So we'll just take that ground tie to another level and just see if it gives us another reason to to back him up a little more. Once I start backing him up for something, and I've had to back him up for a while, like you just did for head down, just walk on and drop it. So you don't give him any command other than walking and going. So we'll just go around him, behind him, try to get him to walk off it. And then the next time we'll just walk like you're walking right now with all the rope coiled up in your right hand. And without missing a step or a rhythm break, you just open your hand and keep going. So the only command he sees is the rope hitting the ground, right? So I don't throw the rope down with my hand so he sees a big command. There you go. Now just walk down there slow. Good girl. So you got your prep out right away. That tells him you're going to correct him. Just make it short. Just head down right there and make it a short push because that's the first time you had to correct him if he'll put his head down right away. And if he won't, like you're going to have to back him, but when you're backing him, go right into a circle so you can try to stay close to the middle of the pin. So that's where you end up. Take 6 feet with your right hand and loop it over the left thumb.
To the left thumb.
Good. Keep asking for that head down, release for anything. And I find if I pull too hard, then they lean right against it. Because that's one of the big struggles I find is horses lean into pressure. So that's one of the things we really need to understand when we're trying to teach our horses to handle fear, right? Is that lean into pressure is their fight instinct. So if you understand their flight instinct and fight instinct as a survival instinct, anytime something scares them, they're typically born to be in the flight instinct. But I've learned through, different bands of wild horses there, that's all in my book there, that they will respond differently depending on their surroundings and their environment. So horses that I grew up with down on the desert in Utah, those horses were very flighty because they could see for miles in a desert and they could see the predators coming up on them. So they really relied on watch and running away because they could outrun all the predators. And then we got to work a band of wild horses here in Canada, and it was thick, dense brush, lots of wolves, grizzly bear. And those horses was a totally different breed of horse, and they were totally operating different. They were all in the fight mode because we went up there to start a bunch of them that hadn't been started in years. It was a band that kind of turned feral. They were domestic horses that were from a guiding outfit that turned, they turned feral just from the lack of work or whatnot. So there were, 10, 12 studs in the band, and, they were as wild as you could get. But all of them would instantly go to fight instinct first, because if they would flight, if they'd go into flee, the wolves would catch them. Because if they run through that thick brush, the wolves could run and catch them in them thick spots, or they would run on top of the snow and catch them. So once I understood that a horse could do either, when we're teaching them to handle fear, that's all we're capitalizing on is reconditioning that flight instinct and turning it into a fight instinct. Okay, and I'll talk about that concept. It's different than you may have heard. And the way it was explained to me by a guy, and I've never heard it since, is I had a whole cowboy up challenge set up here with lots of cowboy curtains and all these obstacles and all these things I was trying to scare him with and get him over his fear. And he come up to do a clinic in my place one time, and he said, what are you doing with all that stuff? And I said, oh, I'm just trying to season my horse, getting prepared for the real world. And he said something that really rocked my world. He said, well, why? He goes, you do realize that you or that horse are not going to live long enough to do that, right? There's always a new fear out there. He says, why don't you just teach him to handle fear and rely on you anytime there is any fear? And, then he relies on you no matter what the fear is. It's the same deal. And I didn't understand it the way I did today, but it comes from, scaring them, genuinely scaring them, and waiting for them to switch from flight to fight. And they will only do that when flight isn't working. And they will only do that when we can stay in the conversation for that to happen. I'll explain on that a little bit here. So if a horse is running and the predator's gaining on him, running's not working, so he'll stand a fight. And that's how them wild horses up north learned that. So if a horse, is afraid of a flag and he runs away from it and I take the pressure away, it's working. right? But if I desensitize a horse from a flag, that's a whole different concept. And I don't even use the word anymore. I don't use that terminology because people get the wrong idea. And if I take a flag and I show it to a horse and it scares him a little bit and I back away so it don't scare him and I gradually go up a little bit more with the intensity, gradually add more and more intensity, pretty soon he won't move and I can be real erratic with the flag and move it all around and he's not afraid of it. All I did was teach him not to be afraid of that flag. And no, that's what Craig was talking about is I'm not going to live long enough and he's not going to live long enough. But most importantly, I lived through the fruit of that. I've had horses long enough in my life now that, I come up and started them that way. Now my grandkids are riding them and they're out in the real world performing. And so I see the fruit of that. But it took lots of problem horses that were, as a last stop shop for them and turned them around because of that concept. So it's been tried and proven, but a lot of people, it's a hard one to wrap your head around based on your last experiences. Is it if you grow up with horses and you've, yeah, I don't even need to go there because if you'll see it, your horse will show that, and these lessons will show that. So why don't you walk around him there, Betsy, and see if you can get him to walk off his ground tie again.
You kind of answered that, Doug, but Ashley had asked, would it benefit spooky horses to have sessions of goofy desensitizations as well? But I
It,
believe,
yeah, it absolutely does, but not if I'm just going to be in the concept that I'm going to try to teach him not to be so goosey, right? Because I have to work on his survival instinct, and that is when something scares him, he's going to try to run first. And if I don't create movement in his feet, I haven't scared him enough to run because if I'm not creating the fear enough that he runs, he's never going to switch from flight to fight. Therefore, I'm not preparing him for the real world because when something genuinely does scare him that is chasing him, he's going to run because it's his first time of doing that. Because I found that it takes me about a month of consistent flagging and until I can't get them to respond with a foot with multiple props, right? And that is when somebody sees me flagging a horse, it catches everybody's attention. They're like, "Whoa, what is that?" Because and in the beginning, I never want to flag more than I can control them in my left hand. And in fact, let's just try that with a whip. Betsy, have you got your lunge whip handy there?
The lunge whip with the that I use to do the round penning.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, just grab it and get back to the far left of your pin. And this would be the first exercise just to kind of demonstrate that a little bit. This would be the first form of him handling fear because he's kind of spicy and he may respond to that. You got your whip with you or you got to
Yes,
grab
sir.
it? Oh,
I
okay.
got it.
Yeah, okay. So just out of the blue as hard as you can, hit the ground back and forth. Out of the blue. Hard. Hard. There you go. So that's the first step we would do. And if your horse, has a panic attack and runs off, they can only run around the round pin to the right until they run into you and all the way around to the left until they run into the fear. So they run, but the environment of this round pin takes them right back into pressure. So then they realize they got to stop and run the other way. And horses that run fast will figure out the stop instantly, right? That are not contaminated. Horses that are contaminated in this fear, and I'll talk about the different contaminations later, but horses that are not genuinely afraid, they will walk for, I've had them walk for sometimes an hour and will not stop a foot, but your arms are tired because you got to keep doing that until they stop all 4 feet. And as soon as they know that, they will not stop, right? So those are horses that have been, there's lots of words I'll use, but I'm trying to think of a way that the best analogy, they've been coddled in their fear, right? They've been backed off when the fear goes, so they can control the human by escalating their fear. Because we back off everything we're doing and then we start trying to console them and pet them and talk to them and it's okay, and that kind of thing, right? And it's because we're handling the fear, we're trying to teach them to handle the fear as though we would like to handle fear because we're not good with fear. But horses live with fear every day. You know, that same band of horses I was telling you about, we've got pictures of them with their head down in the grass in a meadow, and wolves are 20 feet away, sneaking with their head down in the grass. You know, a pack of wolves, 3 or 4 of them in the picture, and the horse got his head down eating grass looking at him. They're that relaxed with them, right? Because they know they're not going to run. They've already made a conscious decision that the way to survive the wolves is stand and fight. Because that's what we're trying to do here is when a horse runs from that flag that he's genuinely afraid of, or runs from that whip that Betsy just did, and then they stand and stop for 4 seconds, and we keep the whip going for 4 seconds and take it away, and then step up there. It only takes 3 days to teach him that I can't get him to move anymore from that high random whip pressure. And that's balancing them out from the using the taps to get them as sensitive as we just did up to this point with send off food and all these other lessons. Okay, Betsy, I think I would go and grab your dressage whip now, and let's just do a little move off hand, because this is the lesson that, you know, that I will do the most of, because I find send off food, you do that for you to get your skill set down. Head down and back up, I only do until they don't need it anymore. And that's going to be if they never pass my shoulder, if they never walk off their ground tie, if they never take a foot, you know, move a foot when I'm tacking them or stepping on them, if they never move until I ask them, then back up. Or if they got any kind of vice on the ground, if they won't let me clip them, bridle them, saddle them, cinch them, pick up their feet, you name it. They got a motivation of backup. So once they don't have any of those, and it only takes a couple of weeks in the beginning of their training, and then I only back them up like that from their back, right? I teach them to back them up, and I'll back them up for different reasons. A lot of it is fitness based and softness based. So I back them up to motivate them to be soft. So head down and go right in to move off the hand. So try to pivot on your left foot and just keep him moving right off hand. So he's really bothered by that. So keep your right arm stiff, keep your elbow stiff. So there you go. And now your whip elbow stiff as well. So it's straight out to the side. There you go. And just go with him. Keep your elbow straight out. Try not to run. Just stay with him. Keep your arm straight out like a wing on an airplane, not towards him. Out, out. There you go. Straight out, straight out. Put it out again. There you go. So that's what he's worried about, out, right? So now just bring it to him and touch him and take it away, because that's what he's worried about, I think, bringing it to him, touch him, and now take it away again. Way out. There you go. See, when you take it out, he thinks you're going to hit him.
Okay.
So we got to work on that right there. Touch him and then take it way out again. So we just keep doing what he's reacting to until he quits reacting. So this again goes in that category of handling fear, right? I want my horse to follow a feel in everything I'm asking him. So if he's jumping around like this from something that's scaring him, when I'm riding him and my 5-year-old's on him, he's going to do the same thing, right? So I have to figure out a way that I can take this horse and make him safe for my 5-year-old, which is only a 3-month-old now. Is my youngest now. So I got a little bit of time. Good. And just keep doing that. Come in and just touch him with it and love him with it a little bit. And then take it away and rub on him.
While we're watching Betsy here, Christine had a good question about the ground tie. Do you correct them for turning in the ground tie?
That is a good question. In the beginning, I don't. Like I look and I wait for the time to see if they will teach themselves. And a lot of times they will, just like that baby we watched Jim work with. But if it gets to be a thing and they just won't, like I've had them pivot so many, sometimes they'll just keep going in circles and they'll get tired of going in circles with me. But sometimes I've had them so fixed on me from lessons of having them keep both eyes on me, because I learned that at one point in my life that they needed both eyes on me, that they would pivot around so many times that the lead shank would be wrapped around one foot because they'd pivot on one foot, and it'd be like multiple wraps, like the whole lead rope would be coiled up all the way around their one foot. So if that was the case, then I would try to change it up. And once you learn how they think, you can try different things. Because, I always say that there's no cookie cutter method that fits every horse. Well, there is here what we're doing is a cookie cutter method. Now that being said, there's a few different variations of that. Like I mentioned earlier, if a horse is more timid or if they're more reactive, right? So if they're timid and reactive or they're sticky and dull and lazy, that's the only thing I change my approach. And it's mostly in the taps and what I do. But if I've got a horse that is, so that concept of a horse just pivoting right there, what would that be? Would that be fight or flight, do you think? Put it in the chat, just real quick, just a real quick. Yeah, good one, you guys. It is flight, right? Because they're moving without me asking, right? So how do we fix flight versus fight is stay the course. So if I took that horse and I said, okay, I'm going to let him move. I'm going to stop everything, turn my beam to the right. So I'm going to start moving around him. And as soon as I start moving, the first step he takes, I'm going to repivot, go to him and do what Betsy's doing right here and move him off my hand. Because once I move him off my hand, I get him connected to my push. When I take that push away, he'll stop from the push coming off. And that's the way I want to teach all of my commands, is to respond in the direction I'm asking him to move and the speed I'm asking him to move by my push hand. And so they will go up in speed, down in speed, and stop when that command comes off. There you go. So now if he's sticky, you might have to tap him a little bit, just lightly with just your wrist. There you go. And then take your wrist away and let him stop for a minute. Stop. So we tapped him once. So now we're starting a new pattern. So now we need to turn off and chill for a minute and then get square again, just so you're perfectly square with him.
Is he one that you would do like you wouldn't do the touch tap whack? You would do like touch, 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 and then just slowly build.
Yeah, the rhythmic taps. I think I
Yes.
would do rhythmic taps with him because he is so reactive to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But now we've already got that now, so let's just try it again. So just grab him by the knot, put a little bit of slack. You always want to have 6 feet of line over your thumb. So when you let go of that knot, he's got 6 feet of freedom. There you go. There you go. Now just turn on your prep with your right hand, real snappy, straight out. Hold steady. Hold for 4, 2, hold a little longer. Hold longer. Let's see how long you hold. Hold for 5, 6, hold, hold. Nice. Now start your push really, really slow. Keep your elbow stiff and just bring it into his ribs. Good. All the way till you touch him. Now just use your wrist and build your wrist in rhythm. Is the wind blowing your camera around there?
Yeah. Are we out of frame?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's really windy over here. We're gonna have a storm tonight. So
Nice. So, good. Now you can stop for that and we'll just restart again. Now off with that hand. And then we'll just get you to start again, Betsy. And this time, hold your rhythmic taps and build those rhythmic taps higher until you get a bigger scoot than you got last time. Just because we're in a pattern now and we're going to quit for one step once we get him there and switch sides. Because this was a really good example of a horse going too far. So he went into runaway mode, right? First, when she first started moving him around, and now he switched to fight. So ooh, nice, release. Nice. That's all you need is that one step. Good job. Now switch and go the other side. So your horse will always show you in a pattern when it's time to quit. And that's a quit when we switch sides. And the reason we're quitting is because she had to go to her taps. And once she went to her taps, we build until he's, give us a little scoot. And then we done it again, and we was prepared to do a bigger scoot, but because we released for that little bit of speed, he responded right away, so we released right away. And that's what motivates him to always be soft and willing to every command, because it's his idea and it's less work. And I do the same thing here, and he might be a little reactive on this side, Betsy, but we'll see.
he is trying to put his nostril back, like his left side around my arm.
Yeah, I just make that the reason I turn on and start pushing him. There you go. and ask for backup first until you can get his nose down. Because once you can tilt your wrist and keep his nose down, you can keep it on the other side of your arm. If you tilt your wrist, keep asking him to go down with your tilting your wrist down up on the knot. There you go. And if he's got a backup to do that, go ahead. And then just keep working your way to the right, our right, back behind you, because you went out of view right now.
Oh, okay.
Maybe the wind will change and push your camera back.
If I need to go push it back, I can. I don't have anybody here with me, so
Yeah, you're
it's
doing
just
a
me.
great job of one-man show there. You're very capable of that.
Yes.
Now just steer him out into the middle a little bit, and then there you go. And see if you can keep your arm on that side, just away from the fence enough that you got about right there somewhere, where you got room to push him off your hand now. Now just stop your feet and put your hand straight out and push him off your left hand. So this exercise, guys, is now that we finally got to this exercise, is representing riding him. That's why I do this. You can go ahead and push him now.
Okay.
That's why I do this instead of lunging, right? Because I mentioned lunging is not a groundwork lesson that is going to help you when you're riding. Oh, yeah, she bit the dust.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
and I'll talk about that. So when Betsy's out there with her arm, she's got one hand on the lead shank on the knot and one hand that she's pushing. So the push hand is going to represent her leg, and that leg is going to represent sideways movement, right? So that sideways movement is going to get us a crossover in the hind end and the front end. A little bit more to your left. There you go. A little bit more. Or
Oops, hang on. I gotta put the bungee cords back on.
okay. Yeah, so when you're pushing off the hand, there's two things that we're working. It's called move off the hand. What we're working on is movement, impulsion, and guidance. So our hand that's on the halter shank is controlling every body part one at a time, just like our backup, so we can get complete control from nose to tail of each body part independently, talking to one body part at a time, while our other hand, our push hand, is creating the impulsion and maintaining the movement, because the movement is the first thing a horse will challenge. And they challenge that by sticking, in which case we need to use our taps, or running away from it. And he's done both. See, right now he's in runaway mode, right? So he's trying to move before he will let her get into position. He's trying to move to stop her from getting into position to do move off the hand. Quite the same thing the horse will do when he refuses lunging. Do any of you have a horse that refuses lunging? Just quick raise your hand or whatever. That's what they're doing. They're either fighting or running away. And so it's fight, flight, and do the opposite. So they will try to refuse going to the right by going to the left, or they will stand there and just look at you, or they'll just run away and try to pull away from you, right? And that's because lunging is an exercise that is really hard to get control. So we set ourselves up for failure because we're teaching that to people with green horses, right? Green riders with green horses. They're not really broke enough to do that. And that's basically what the industry is, guys, because when we're a brand new rider, usually we can't afford those, $30,000, $40,000 horses are really broke. They're the ones we need. So we start off, we don't even know if we're going to like horses. So excuse me, we start off with something that's affordable. It's in our price range. And therefore it requires us to be a trainer. And if we're going to be a trainer, because as you guys know, horses aren't cheap to eat, to feed and maintain, but that is the cheapest thing about a horse is feeding them. Everything else with a horse gets pretty pricey. Nice. Now just start your push off the hand, and let's see how many times it takes him to be able to move as sensitive as he did last time without being reactive. Yeah, I would just do the rhythmic taps and try to just use your wrist only, no arm, because your arm's already pushing. Just wrist, 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 harder. Keep slowly building harder. If you build too slow, he'll stay locked up longer. I have to build a little bit faster, a little bit. and stop for that. Good. So I stop for movement first. There you go. Now try your same push again. Start way out. So you're always starting from the same place, same position. Your arm is straight out like an airplane wing, straight out to the side. Good. Now bring it really, really slow. And if he does, ooh, nice. Stop right there. One step. Good job. Now switch back to the other side. So you only had to tap him free one time, and that's that pattern. Now just switch sides and work on the other side. Because we've already taught him that on this side, we are expecting to be able to go a step further. So the next step would be cadence. So our horse will continue to move off a subtle pressure, off a subtle movement. Now, what the correction is going to be, he's only going to move for one, maybe two circles. And if he doesn't go two circles, he's going to stop somewhere. Wherever he stops, I'm going to build my taps until he scoots, because I'm not going to tap him because he's moving nice. So he's got to go one full circle, and that looks good. Just keep everything consistent, just like the second hand on a clock. Pivot on your left foot. So he steps and steps and step there. There's the stop. So go on into him and touch him and tap him. So because he stopped right there, we're going to scoot him, because that's the new lesson. We're stacking on top of the last lesson. First of all, we taught him he had to move before the stick reached him, right? So now stop again, because you got him scooted. So we got to stop and start it all over again. Now, if he tries to pull away from me, I just go with him. There you go. Now you're right back into it again. Now this time, let's see if he stays steady again. Working on neck down, because we can do that as well. And we're just going to see if he'll stay steady. But as soon as you started asking him to go steady, he locked up again. So that's him bouncing back again from fight to flight. So now this time, hold your taps till he scoots again. Build your taps till he scoots bigger than he did last time. Good. Now release your hand. Good. Straight out. There you go. Now start again, and let's see if he follows that feel, because the lesson we're on right now is cadence. That means keep going. So now he didn't respond by the time your hand got there. So you have to build the taps until he gives you a bigger scoot again. Take your time building them. Just keep building until he gives you a bigger scoot. A little bigger. A little bigger. There. Stop. Good. Hand way out. And let's just start again. Start really slow. Hand only. You don't want to move your legs. Just hand only. Hinge from your shoulder. Sorry about the video, guys. That wind makes it a little hard to see. Keep going. You're good. Keep going. Now, if he goes one full circle or 1.5 circles without moving, keep your legs real still. Just pivot and push. Think about your right hand. Pivot and push. Pivot and push. Good job. One more circle. Pivot and push. Keep going. 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 And then stop and hold. 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 1001. 2003, and off. Off with your right hand first, off with your left hand. Good job. So that was a teaching pattern, guys, a teaching pattern. And we taught what the horse was thinking at the time, right? We addressed what his resistance was at the time. And it's not just get him moving to the left and we're going to establish leadership. No, no, no. It's not that. It's not just that, right? That's the start. But it's him giving us his whole body to the left or the right. That's what's going to make him soft for my grandson or my granddaughter, right? Okay, just switch sides now. Let's get cadence on this other side. And we'll get ready to wrap it up here, guys.
Absolutely. If you guys have, especially you guys that are new to following us, if you guys have any specific problems or goals that you're working on right now, or questions on how this relates or how we're able to help you achieve those, be sure to post it in the comments or the questions, and we'll try to get to all of those. One of the questions Raylene had, Dad, is she's seen the videos of the desensitizing while tied. She's wondering if one is preferred over the other, like where Betsy did it while ground tied.
Yeah, like if I can, I want to do everything. There's a purpose for doing it when they're tied, right? Because it goes back to those three concepts. But to ground tie, when he's doing it ground tied, I get a more genuine read on how well my desensitizing is going, right? Because if I'm holding him, he don't have the same freedom that he would have if he was ground tied. So just that much of a freedom will show me if he's really holding when something scares him. Now, when I do desensitizing while he's tied, that's to teach horses that have been successful at using fear to break free from control, right? And sometimes that's premeditated, so they think about doing it. Sometimes it's accidental, right? From people who tie a horse up that's not ready to be tied up yet, and something scares him, and he panics and pulls back and breaks free and runs away. A horse that does that is never the same until you correct that, right? He's always going to hold that in the back of his mind. And what a lot of times what people will do, because he pulls back now, he's labeled as a puller. We get a blocker tie ring so it slides rope, so we don't ever time, or we time to something that'll break free, so he continues to learn that lesson a little deeper and deeper level. But you got to understand the way a horse thinks. If I put my grandson or my granddaughter on that thing and we're out there and something gets electric and scares him, it don't matter how big a bit I got on him, they're not going to be able to stop him. Right? So if your horse is spooking and you get the impression that he's looking for spooks, it's because he is. He absolutely is. And it's for a reason to get out of control. And once I learned that, it was a game changer in my whole life. Because you got to understand that, I've experienced every program out there, because I learned from all the industry leaders when I was first starting out with this stuff. And so I've tried every single thing I've ever seen on a video with multiple horses, enough horses to get a good read, because I was trying to build a program that would work. That's why a lot of these lessons I had to invent, because I couldn't find a lesson that would work for somebody just starting out, to get a lesson where you could learn the dance before you're put out on a dance floor in front of everybody. But if, send while tied, if that horse is broke free, now he's motivated to break free when we're trying to control him. So he acts spooky, right? He won't, as soon as you go in a round pen, those of you can put your hand in the air. If you got one of them, you walk in a round pen, your horse already ramped up. It's because he's had overexposed in the round pen. He's been taught or punished in a way in the round pen for something he didn't understand. And the most common thing I see, and I knew what it was because of patterns, would be inside turn contamination. That means the horse has been punished when he turned away from us. So we got the green light to turn up the pressure and punish him, because we was told that if he turns towards us, it's disrespectful. Or sorry, if he turns away from us, it's disrespectful. So we punish him until he turns towards us. And so, those kind of horses have had a lot of pressure, and just facing you is not enough reward. Like he did not get a reward by turning and facing us just because the pressure went away. That stuff's going to stay with him through the night. And the next time you go in a round pen, it's still going to be there, right? Because the only way they get it, the very first thing I want to teach a horse in a round pen is what we did today off food. Brand new horse, never been worked before, but he got acceptance over there when he put his nose down to the ground, right? He showed us acceptance. That's like any horse in the herd. If you watch any horse have a pecking order conversation in a herd, it's going to end with head down to the ground, nose to the ground. Okay, Betsy, did you get both sides there now?
I think I did.
You got him Cadence on both sides. He's looking way different there. So I think going through teaching that one and really focus on having him follow a feel. So the next step is we got him.
Oh, Dad, we're at time. We gotta wrap up the coaching. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But I did want to go through the questions before we do that. Ashley was asking if this helps with a difficult horse to catch as well in time.
We have an actual lesson for that. It's called the approach. It's right after the Liberty work. So I take you into Liberty work after these lessons, because these are the 7 steps lessons that we're working on. We're just finishing up that 7 steps course. So it prepares us for the saddling work. So I start Liberty work once we start the saddling, putting the saddle on for our colt starting course. It's coming up in about a month, I guess, isn't it, Kaylee?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really, we like to call it our foundation program. So Ashley's actually, she plans to open a rescue. So she So that that'll be helpful. But the foundational course, the challenge that we start, you're exactly going through all the lessons on the ground to find and remove resistance. So we do call it our colt starting challenge, where a lot of students have started their own colts in this challenge. But it really is the foundational challenge. So if you're brand new to horses and need to learn how to communicate clearly and be safe, or if you need to remove resistance from your horse or fill in the holes, this is really going to help you not only do it, but learn how to do it confidently, because you're putting Doug right in your back pocket. Jen had a quick question. Please recap the nose over the wrist with the pushy horse, resisting you moving into the ready position. Hers doesn't like to move off. He digs in trying to move her.
Well, he will likely have been taught to yield through restraint pressure. So restraint pressure is anytime they match pressure with you, right? So we have another lesson, Sandwell Tide, that I'd talk you through. We unfortunately don't have time to do here, but that's what I will see once we are on the lesson plan. So that it will be a restraint lesson that we have to fix first before we can get that, because he's learned that he's stronger. And once they learn that, unfortunately, we have to go back to the beginning and go forward again. But I will see that once we are doing head down. And then I just change it and I talk you through that lesson. And that lesson will always be done on live, just because we only need to do it once or twice on every horse, and then they're good usually for life.
Absolutely. And for those of you that are new and you're watching this and you're wanting to learn how to create that level of softness, I mean, my dad always taught me, if you head out to the pen with questions, you're not going to leave with that softness and willingness. And if you're wanting that and you want to learn how to do that and put Doug in your back pocket, we do have about 10 spaces for our core coaching program, which what that's going to give you is unlimited coaching just like this, as well as we have weekly